Hello everyone. Today I am making Trinidad and Tobago style coconut crab and dumpling. So I have my crab here soaking in some lemon water. So you just squeeze some lemon over this and fill it up to the top with water. And this is the dumpling. The dumpling is a very simple recipe using regular flour and a mix of cassava flour. You can also add banku or just do regular wheat flour for your dumpling. It really depends, but we like to make it a cassava dumpling. So a cassava dumpling flour. So for the dumpling, you use 3 cups of grated cassava. You can get the fresh cassava, which looks like this, and grate it up yourself, or you can just get the flour formula, or you can just use cassava flour like this. So 3 cups of cassava flour or grated cassava, and then 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and you mix it together in a bowl with 1 cup of water. And you can add more water if your dough is still dry, just so that it forms into a ball together. Make sure it comes together into a ball. And then we're going to boil the dumpling. I'll show you how to roll it and flatten it out. And we're gonna boil it in some water. And we're going to add 2 tablespoons of salt. I have the salt here, 2 tablespoons of salt to the water. And when the dumpling floats at the top of the pot, that's when it's ready, and you can put it to the side to drain and cool down a bit. So these are going to be the cassava dumplings. A lot of people like to make cassava dumplings in the Caribbean. So just roll out your dough into 2 pieces, and we're gonna cut it up and shape into a round kind of flat disc, and then we're gonna boil it. So you're gonna roll it out, flatten it with your hand into a disc. You're gonna flatten the dough into a disc, flat disc like this, or you can do a rectangular one or a long. Sometimes people do long kind of dumplings, kind of like this, just to serve at the side. Scoop up the sauce with your dumpling. And sometimes people have cassava dumpling with avocado, ackee, and saltfish and all that. Okay, I'm gonna add the salt. Add the salt. Add all the dumplings in to the boiling water. Let it boil for around 10 minutes or until the dumplings start to float at the top. Then you'll know it's cooked when it starts floating at the top. Okay, so it has risen to the top. Time to take it out. Just gonna strain this in a colander a bit. Let the water come off, and then put it to cool down a bit at the side. In terms of ingredients for the curry crab here, people like to use blue crab, but if you don't have blue crab, you can just use whatever crabs you have at home. So for seasoning, we have half an onion, 2 spring onions, ginger, garlic, coriander, parsley, a little bit of green pepper. Now, I'm using these ingredients like parsley, coriander, and pepper to replace green seasoning, which I don't have. But if you have green seasoning at home and you already prepared it, or you already bought green seasoning, you can add 2 tablespoons of that instead of the coriander and the parsley and green onions. We have celery salt, some thyme, coconut milk, which we need because this is gonna be a coconut cream curry. Then a tomato, 1 medium tomato. Salt and pepper is here. I already showed you that earlier. Scotch bonnet. You can use hot sauce or the real Scotch bonnet peppers. Angostura bitters. Amchar masala. Cumin, ground cumin. This is saffron powder, turmeric, curry powder, Trinidadian curry powder, and I already showed you the flour ingredients for the dumplings. So this is the type of ingredients you need to make Tobago style coconut curry crab and dumpling. So let's get to it. I'm gonna add some scalding water. It's starting to change color already. Okay, so this is the marinade. I basically have 2 tablespoons curry powder, some garlic, chopped ginger or minced ginger and minced garlic, minced bell pepper, chopped up very finely some coriander and parsley, some black pepper, a little bit of salt. Now you're gonna add chopped Scotch bonnet or some Scotch bonnet hot sauce. This is going to marinate for around 3 hours. Cover it over with some foil, put it in your fridge to marinate for 3 hours. This is just some Angostura bitters, fresh lime, and you just want to mix it up a bit. Crack open the crab a bit so that the marinade gets in everywhere. And we'll move on to the next step. So now we're going to do the other part of the sauce. We're going to do the second part of seasoning this. So you're going to add around a teaspoon of Amchar masala and a teaspoon of jeera. It's basically ground cumin and we call it jeera. And then 2 tablespoons, around 2 tablespoons of curry powder. Try to get the Trinidadian curry powder because it's a bit different from the Indian one, I find. And this is a Tobago style, Trinidad and Tobago style crab and dumpling. So we want to use Trini products and ingredients as much as possible. Then we're gonna add half a teaspoon of saffron powder. This brand Chief is a Trinidadian brand, a popular one. And then we have Calabrand Madras curry powder, another Trinidadian product. And you can find these at your local Caribbean grocery stores usually. So I'm just going to add the saffron powder now. Now I'm going to add some thyme. Coconut sugar. This is optional. And this recipe does not call for coconut sugar. But to balance out salt, I like to add a bit of sugar to my food sometimes. Just a little bit. It's not very sweet sugar in general, but just for flavoring. Now I'm going to add the rest of my garlic and coriander and parsley. These are 3 cloves of garlic. I had added 2 cloves of garlic in the marinade for the crab that I put in the fridge. So I'm just going to add 3 of these. And the greens and 1/3 cup of water. Mix everything together. So this is our next sauce, or next man. Just joking. She have a next man, as in she is cheating on her man with a different man, or another man. Which I am not encouraging at all. I'm just making a joke. So now it's all mixed, and we're going to add this later on to our saucepan. Our saucepan is going to have the onions, some oil to fry the onions in, and then we're gonna add this sauce and our crab and the rest of the ingredients, which isn't too much. Practically done here. Yep. So I'm using Grace coconut oil. Frying half an onion. I also have some green onions I'm adding to this. Spring green onions. I'm not going to add them yet. We have to add this when the onions have cooked a bit, and then add our crab. And I'll add the crab with this and chop up my tomato. Later on, I'm going to be making Saltfish Accra, just because it is carnival. It's a carnival weekend, so I'm in the mood to make Caribbean food. After the tomato goes in to the saucepan, you're going to add coconut milk. This is curry coconut crab and dumplings, so you need to add coconut milk to this. Time to add the next man curry sauce. One wasn't enough, so we need to add more for seasoning and flavoring, even though we added seasoning to our marinade. Caribbean people like to do lots of seasoning. After things get a bit sticky, you're going to add the crab in. Add the crab in and scoop in some of the seasoning and marinade as well. I have a lot of it in here. So it has the garlic and all that, lime juice. And we're going to turn these crabs around every couple of minutes so it cooks evenly on all sides. And then add in the tomatoes and the rest of our ingredients and coconut milk. I'm adding in the tomato now. Chopped tomato. Make sure you turn things over and be careful at the bottom of the pot if things are sticking. Even if you have a non-stick saucepan and all that, it can still get really thick at the bottom because of the curry. Just at the beginning before we add the coconut milk. So keep on turning things around, turning things over. Okay, now we're going to do 1/2 cup of water, and we're going to mix in some of the coconut milk into this, just to make it easy to mix in to our crab. I'm gonna add the rest of it and just gonna mix it in with some water because it's easier to mix it in that way than just the thick cream. And we want our curry crab to be a bit saucy, like to have a bit of liquid to it, so that when we serve it with the dumpling, it has a nice kind of sauce. A nice sauce to go with it. Because the dumpling, I mean, it doesn't really have any flavor or taste, so it's important to add something flavorful with it. And this has a lot of seasoning and a lot of flavor, so I'm just adding a bit of lime juice. Because Coconut and lime together is a great combo. When the crab is red, then it has been cooked and it's finished and ready to serve. So it would take around 5 to 10 minutes for the crab to turn red. And now we're gonna serve it with the dumpling. So it is ready to serve. And with the dumpling, it is done. It tastes absolutely amazing. A real Tobago style curry crab and dumpling. I love it. So this is for the saltfish. I have the herbs here: parsley, coriander, green onion. I just put Angostura bitters, some Scotch bonnet, lime juice on the fish. This has onion, bell pepper, bit of ginger. I like to add turmeric and curry powder to my flour and some black pepper. The turmeric and the curry powder just gives the Accra a bit of color. And I'm going to add some garlic into this as well. So there's 4 cups of flour in this. Then we have 4 teaspoons baking powder. Then there's 2 teaspoons of sugar. And since we're using saltfish, this already has salt, even though I soaked it in boiling water twice. It still will have salt in it. I'm going to fillet the fish, fillet it, so that it's gonna be in like little pieces going into the batter. Here, I'm going to add the water fillet fish. The purpose of adding hot water to the fish is to just loosen it up a bit. If you're having issues with filleting it, breaking it up into small pieces like this, just add some hot water. And you're gonna save that water because we need to make the batter sticky for frying. Adding the baking powder helps make things crispy on the outside and soft on the inside. So I'm gonna add this to the batter now and add some more water so that the batter becomes sticky and forms together in a ball. So it should be sticky like this. I'm gonna add some coconut sugar and a little bit more flour so that it's not too wet. And you can add a little sprinkle of salt just in case. Just a little bit, not too much, because the fish already has salt to it. Even though I had soaked it, it's still going to be a bit salty. But it should be ready for frying. I'm gonna fry like this. You don't have to put too many in your frying pan. You can see it's bubbling because of the baking soda that we added. You're just gonna carefully turn it over. Make sure that it's golden brown on both sides and cooks through. And then put it off to the side to drain on some paper towels. Let it cool down a bit. These are the dried ones here. So it's done. I did a double batch, so that's why I have so many. And I served my Saltfish Accra with avocado ketchup. That's a ketchup there. This is just some mango amchar and some lime. It's slightly crispy on the outside. So it's soft like that on the inside. You can see the herbs, the fish a bit. Really good.